All right. Every time I try and edit and rewrite this thing, it seems to get longer. But when you're writing, you're trying to, as succinctly as possible, describe the exact situation or feeling or whatever it is. But sometimes certain words are more descriptive than others. So by putting them in, you create a picture. If you don't put them in, the picture's not there. So for clarity and whatever, it's sometimes important to have certain words. So I try this again and again every week to try and get it saying exactly what I wanted to say in as few words as possible. But the few words that possible don't usually work together. So,
well, I'm going to suggest then that you take a class in haiku.
Oh yeah,
and then just come with haikus next week. If you want to be as succinct as possible.
Yeah, but it's got to say what it's got to say, and it's the most difficult thing I think any author ever has, is as briefly as possible say what you want to say.
Well, there you have the difference between Hemingway and Faulkner, if you know those authors.
Yeah.
Hemingway was the economist of words, and Faulkner was how many words can I fit in and still make it to stick.
Yeah. Hemingway actually broke many sort of literary rules, using all sorts of words and combinations of words that weren't like the standard way of communicating. So it was pretty amazing. And I think
awesomeness.
I think this is an important point to bring up, because language and communication and the use of words is so important. Like I'm picking on you, but I'm not picking on you. I'm not trying to be, whatever otherwise. But when somebody says something like divine, or they say higher, like as in referring to something that's spiritual as being higher, or something as levels of spirituality. Now, we live in a relative universe, it's like, can you tell me what's higher? There is no such thing as higher. So if we want to live in an equitable world, if we are creating a higher structure or higher order, like a steps or whatever, if we're doing that, then what we're doing is we're going against what we're trying to do. We're trying to create balance and equality, where if you start to create a stepped system, you're going up the steps of order and hierarchy, and that's not what you want to do. You want to bring equality, so you want all the steps to be even. You know what I'm saying? So when saying like North America and South America, and it's like the North is better than the South, you're creating this this illusion of superiority, or we're a first world country, so it's the illusion of being superior, when in actual fact, maybe you actually have lost the plot and you're totally inferior, So you don't want to. Language is so critically important. And when I wrote this book, I specifically wrote it in lowercase letters. Names give a hierarchical sort of thing. Like if you name something, you now give it a capital letter. You make it superior to all the other words. And then if you name places and towns and whatever, you have now made these crazy constructs more important. We really are living in this connected world, and there's no place that's superior to any other place. And if you go and you have a look throughout our language, it's like, yes, it does help to have a capital letter in the beginning of a sentence and so on, but a full stop would have been fine. just as like we're having a break here, and then we're having a break with the comma and a semicolon is this type of break and so on. Yeah, I mean, those are acceptable punctuation. But the moment you put in this class distinction in so many ways, you create all of the societal problems. It's like, it's part of our paradigm of separation and hierarchy and whatever. It's like, to me, those are critically important things to watch out for is literally our language, how we use language. And who said spiritual belonged to the religions? But there's a naturally implied, we control the spiritual realm. It's like, really? But the word spiritual more than likely came long before you even existed as an organization. But divine in that case is specifically saying from God. And it's like specifically saying that anything that is mystical and that realm of maybe the woo-woo, whatever, is the creation of a singular entity. And then it's the same thing goes for the source. It's like, what source? Energy comes from all over the place. Yes, there are different sources, but it's like there is no one singular source. Yes, the sun is our greatest source of energy in this region in space, which is responsible to the larger degree for the establishment and the creation of life and our physical realm and our planet and everything. But there's energy coming from all over the place. So if there is one source, it would have to be our sun relative to us. But we're in this universe where energy is coming from all over the place. Every being or every physical entity is a radiant source of energy. So now, how are you going to now create like a hierarchical level of sources? And then, is the afterlife more important than the life we're living? It's like really, really, really important that we create this, yes, you might be an older person with many, many levels of spiritual growth, but, or experiences, but does that make you more important as an energy being than somebody who's on the beginning of their journey? It's like saying the adult is more important than the baby. It's like, no, they're all just as important. So I think in this whole thing of equality and equitable future and so on, we have to be very careful of our language. Sorry, I just got into a rant there.
All right. I think I got what you mean, man.
Yeah,
so
well,
I'd like to point out a couple.
In, eh?
No, absolutely. So, and does anybody else want to speak into that? I have a couple of thoughts, but
go on.
Okay, so in your explanation right there, for the past couple of minutes, as you can probably guess, it was riddled with distinctions and with differences, let's say. And just that's the way we do it. Someone who's higher. So immediately when you're explaining that concept, there's already a distinction between someone who's not, or someone versus us all. So I think the languaging, as I agree with you, is incredibly important for us to explain or share our experience so that another one gets it as close as to what we intended the message to be. And any message that we send is going to have that constant iteration into, is that exactly what I meant? And how far do we need to go before I think you get the gist of the idea, or I've explained it or expressed it in a way that you'll get. So the concepts of distinction, as you were talking about, I think this is a human condition, and I think it's a condition of the brain that we have, and the way we process things. And I had mentioned a number of times over the weeks about Martin Heidegger, and one of the things that he came up with, or at least revealed, was our absolute need to categorize and box things so that we can create some order as to how things are. And I would say part of that comes out of our inability to accept all that is at every moment. I don't know that for whatever reason, you and I and everybody on this call, and probably everybody on this planet, save maybe a couple, can do that, where I'm totally connected right now. And I wouldn't even need to say those words, right? If I'm guessing if that's what I was. And same thing you had mentioned about, some people are farther along on the path than others. So again, there's a distinction that just automatically comes out. I don't think distinctions are bad. And I think part of what we do is create those distinctions and those categorizations in order for us to at least process with the rational mind that we have. I think what's happened is that they have been absconded with by people in power, or people that created their own individual distinct power from the other, and have used it to their personal, egotistical, selfish, whatever, or just the way they are means. So that creating these distinctions between you and I and us and them and me and all that is, have been ways, and I'm sure you'll agree with certainly the pyramid schemes that we have across the eons, there have been ways for people to assume more than they are. And I think the point that you were making was, where's the equitableness of that? Why do we separate each other into these categories if they're really just non-existent ways for people to manipulate other people? And I think that's the world that we live in at this point, or at least most of us do. So we get to accept that that's part of our nature, is to question and categorize and shift things so that we can maybe more rationally or scientifically operate in the world that we're in. And as I'm going to say, as a judgment and separation, some do that better than others. Some do that more honestly than others. So some realize that and back away from it. And it's just something that people do. Now, I say it's just that. I really don't know if that's the case or not, but I get that what I've read and who I am, I know when I fall into that, and when I'm being in the moment and being present and then being connected with all that is versus being connected with my categorization of all that is. It's okay, that applies here and that applies here and that applies here, and that's where I'm going to keep it. So I want to steer us away from being either or, which is obviously what you're trying to do as well. Let's not categorize and judge. Let's just all be one, and the equality of everything will just happen. And I get that we're there just naturally, and we're not there just in the way we operate. So I want to hold that distinction until we can blow it up, that differences are important for us to be able to experience other. However, the experience of other is what connects us, because we're all connected in that level. So it's a conversation I've had for many, many years about duality versus oneness. And, I get that one must accept duality as one is able to accomplish oneness. It's part of oneness is the duality, the concept of duality, or the practice of duality, or judgment. Doesn't mean that we have to hold what we imagine as true. However, I do get that we have to, well, we don't have to, but I do get that we are challenged to create those distinctions and just hold them as, okay, that was a process I did for this purpose. It doesn't mean it's truth. It's just easier for me to handle stuff that way. And I'll leave it there, but that's my take on, I think, where you're going.
Anyone else want to respond? I can come back immediately.
I'm sure you can.
No,
wait a minute. Wait. We can come back immediately. There is no I.
Exactly. Yeah. There is no I. Ultimately, yeah. I mean, the I is the greater universe. It's like we are sort of just aspects of that. But the oneness and the duality are are really good points, all right? But in actual fact, like in the wholeness, it's just shades of gray. It's just like, where are we? You know, is that metaphor describing something as well as we can? Is, you know, it's like we use symbolism, we use metaphor, we use art, we use all of these creative things, and even words or symbols to describe sort of experiences. And there is like an oversimplification. And I mean, as human beings, we do have this necessity to simplify, because like there's just so much information out there, and our ability to communicate is so slowed down and so oversimplified. But we've got to be careful of stepping into it's black and white, it's heaven, it's hell. It's like
but we're schooled. We're schooled in our language. We're schooled in our boxing of categorization. We schooled in all those to not allow us to think outside the box.
Exactly. And that's the paradigm, which is something we've been discussing behind the scenes from this meeting. But the paradigms that come through are like the set of schooled values and beliefs that we get from education, the set of schooled values and beliefs we get from religion, the set of schooled values and beliefs we get from the scientific and now the technological revolution and so on. They have these specific tenets, all right, bam, bam, bam. And we take them on as our code, and we live our lives according to that code. And that code is not necessarily true. And in actual fact, in most cases, is the most destructive thing that we could do for ourselves, for our behavior, for the way we think and the way we live in the world. So we really have to be very critical at analyzing our thought code, and then the use of language that perpetuates that code or creates a new code. So it's the new paradigm that we want to speak to and speak within, the paradigm of love and life and creativity and positivity and a can-do, and, you know, I would love to help, and nurturing and caring and equality. And that's the paradigm and the lexicon that we need, or the language, the words in the language we need to use to speak our way into the new future.
Well, I agree with that as the process. I think, well, speaking from the Western world, which I guess includes Europe, now Africa because of the European influence, and so certainly the Americas, based on the Abrahamic religions, there was a separation between man and God. That's critical to their whole concepts. So how and why, not to get into this as a topic, but how and why would religions do that? Separate you from creation and say, you're not worthy, you're not blah, 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 follow these commandments, maybe, and if you go through, this spirit or that one, then you can get to me, but otherwise you can't. Just look at that paradigm that was set up and drilled into most of us, as youngsters, from Greek parables right on up through the Bible and the New Testament, etc. It's just, so it's a paradigm that we've been born into and that we're experiencing, and that's part of the stuff that we get to shed. And part of what we're shedding is not only those belief systems that were imposed on us, but it's all the beliefs that we made up about that, because those are what we're operating with. So, through that, there's just distinctions and separations and, all the other stuff that goes along with it. So I think we have to look at that as, it's part of the world we live in. And yes, we're looking for a higher connection and a oneness. And we get to accept that there is not that at many moments in our lives, unless we accept that everything that's going on is part of the oneness, and there's no reason to question anything or judge anything or make one better or worse, or higher or lower, or more godly or not godly. It all is what it is.
Yeah, there you threw in the higher, and I mean, I'm not judging. I'm just saying it. It's like that's how we speak, but we know like that we are conscious human beings. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation through conscious thought and whatever. But then we look around us, and nothing that lives is without that conscious desire for life, and constantly, consciously, like changing and moving the leaves towards the sunlight, and ants, like you watch ants. Oh my gosh, they have a really conscious, intelligent life. They're running this way. They've been sort of maybe through pheromones or whatever, and they're taking sand or first of all, migrating to another nest, and then digging out the new nest and creating all of the things that they've been sort of asked to do or told to do, or through pheromones signal to do. And they are conscious. They'll come running towards you and okay, you're a threat and you shouldn't be close to their home, and then they'll bite you. But if you're not a threat, they won't. It's like, is that not consciousness? And if an ant can be that conscious, and we know consciousness is all around us. So consciousness is not higher than us. It is us. We are expressions of it. And so is everything else that exists is an expression of consciousness within a conscious universe. So, all of this information that we receive and radiate outward is this conscious oneness, connectedness, radiant. It's like there's nothing higher about it. It's what we are. It's what nature is. It's what the universe is. It's what life is. So it's only maybe our language has evolved to precisely explain things, but there is also that problem of being absolutely emphatic, and this is the law of nature and whatever, because you can take any of those concepts and you really like start to analyze. You always find there's certain things about them that aren't true. So is it absolutely true? No. To a large degree, maybe. Yes. So
Yeah, again, we can create all the distinctions that we want. It's when we hold them as the truth that creates the problem. And most of the times we do, for whatever reason, unless we're willing to be in inquiry about what is life and what is our thinking and what is existence. And then we're more likely to just experience rather than to judge. Having said that, I think we're going to judge it, what our experience is anyway, and come up with some answers even after that one. So it's a continuing process. As long as we can take it lightly.
Yeah.
I think
I wonder if I'm going to ask a favor, just to interrupt. Kurt, can you turn your volume up a bit? You're just too quiet. Okay, Karen, Alex?
I just wanted to say that, I think for every person on the planet, we want to be connected. We want to feel a part of something more than what is our own individual self and our own individual being connected with others, being connected to nature, being connected to the world we live in, to the people around us. I think the more disconnected we are, we have this yearning to connect, and whatever's thrown at us, we jump on that as our connection, whether it's religion or sciences or just basic household. Each house has its own set of rules and religions and belief systems within that house. So you want to be connected to something. You don't want to be disconnected anymore. As the more you're disconnected, the more you yearn to be connected, and the more you want to grab onto anything to feel any form of connection, in my opinion. Anyway.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Kurt, do you want to respond to that?
No.
Yeah, I agree with the fact that you'll have like the alpha or whoever in a group, and maybe that forces their or imposes their values and beliefs on the group and all that sort of thing. But for our survival, we don't have a choice but to return to being, for our language and for our paradigm, to become that of love and nature and sowing and growing and nurturing and just a positive life's attitude. If we do that, we have a future. But if we carry on with the negative and the destructive and the superiority and the disintegration, because really that's what the Abrahamic religions and a lot of these paradigms have focused on, is divide and rule. It's by creating that separation and that segregation, it's led to racism, it's led to cultural hatred, it's led to everything that destroys the oneness of our humanity, and our true nature is to be one with nature. And the whole idea of doing that is, it's called divide and rule, divide and conquer. And the whole principle is that you can rule people as individuals, but the moment they get together as a collective and they say, no, they're more powerful than you, so you can't rule anymore. So the principle is designed to break us apart as opposed to bring us together. Whereas our paradigm is a bringing together. Love is about relationships. It's about us, we together. So that's what we're heading towards. So let's try and spread that love-based paradigm.
Add your mouth to civilization's ears. That's what we're striving for. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, out of all of our mouths, yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome stuff. Okay, so I'm going to leave
there. Dennis, sorry, yeah. I just want to cap. So I don't usually watch TV, and I rarely turn it on the weekends, but I happened to turn it on this morning because I was up early and figured I can fit it in. And I turned on the TV to PBS, and there was a 2-hour special on the life of the Buddha. And I caught it about halfway through. But it just, as we're talking about oneness and the lack of hierarchies and things, I think probably the only religion, and certainly Buddha wouldn't call it that, that exists on the plane of oneness and equality and, get rid of the judgments and then it's all nothingness anyway, would be Buddhism, which is why it's drawn a lot of people over there. So the conversation we're having is interesting that it just flowed into that out of certainly what my experience was for the hour prior to coming on the call here. So just an observation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There were a whole lot of carry on, Alex.
She just made a comment about,
yeah.
Go ahead.
There are ancient natural religions that speak to exactly what we're saying. And Buddhism, of all of the sort of modern religions that hold a lot of say, Buddhism is the closest to what we're teaching. And its basic principle is don't worry about the past and don't worry about the future, just focus on the now and create the world that you want to live in. And the original Siddhartha Gautama, the originator of Buddhism, the Buddhist, the enlightened one, his principle was basically teaching meditation techniques to be consciously aware and living in the moment. And a lot of Eckhart Tolle's work is based on that principle. It's quite simply just that in his book, A New Earth and so on, and other books that he wrote. It's basically focusing on that. And you can't change the past. You can't actually step into the future and do something. You can only live in the now and create the future you want. So who are we going to be now to create the future we want? And it's in the doing, it's in the being that person now that the future is manifest or created. So we are actually the creators of our future. So let's choose to think wisely, speak wisely, do wisely, and we will become wisely wise.
I'm assuming that tautology works. Absolutely. And I would say, why not choose that one versus other ones? It's more accepting and humanistic, and I would say appropriate to what we think godliness is or oneness is than anything else.
All right.
So you had a topic for today, Dennis?
I'm just going to have to get rid of what I was going to say in the beginning, because we say that so often. I'll have to leave it for another occasion. And I'm going to just scroll down. Scrolling. Wow, that was long.
Hey, Dennis, I have a suggestion for you while you're scrolling.
Yeah.
Maybe you can create a 1 or a 2 minute succinct intro about what we're up to, so that you don't have to personally go through it every time. It can just be played at the time of the start of the session. And then we come in 2 minutes later and you can announce the specific topic for today and go from there. If you get what I mean. Yeah, just a bumper, they call it, but yeah.
It's an idea, but every week I go through it and I change it a little bit. I'm just trying. I think what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to write an intro really to a book. And by getting you to suffer through it, you can comment and you can tell me how, maybe this could have been done better, and this is maybe, blah, blah, blah. You can help me
as we
get
do.
there.
Okay, homework for today, group, for the next week. watch the intros from the past and give him feedback.
It's my homework every Sunday.
Oh, and probably most of the rest of the days.
No, I think it is getting better. I think it's still a bit long. I think we do need to find less words to communicate the concept in general. But it's always interesting to listen to and just put the idea back there that this is what we're trying to achieve. This is, and just hearing it even once a week or monthly. I think it's important to hear it, because this is the objective that we need to achieve. This is the goal. This is the underlying tone. This is the message that we need to get out there at the end of the day.
That's actually some good ideas there. I mean, you just threw in maybe like once a month, reinforce it. I don't know, but it does take time, and it does take away from our meeting time and discussion time. So maybe it's not, I don't know. So some new ideas to consider there.
Yeah, we'll balance it.
Exactly.
Or not.
So, yeah. I think that's one of the critical things is we're learning as we go to go with the flow, to sort of like discover and eke out and create together, or co-create, as Lorna likes to say. It's like, it's a journey, and like we go along, and then there's something's not working, and then we like try and adjust it, and we try this, and we're finding the flow of the river, through this journey.
Recalibrating.
Recalibrating. Yeah, just like trying this, it doesn't work, then try something else and talk about it and come up with better solutions. And
we're making stuff up and creating it in the moment, which
exactly,
we pretty much are anyway.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. Now, these next sections, we're getting to the end of that. Like, I don't know, it might take 3 or 4 weeks. It depends on how quickly we move through them, or 5 weeks or whatever. But what are we doing up until now in this book? What are the stages of the transition which we really have to focus on and make sure happen? That's what I'm focusing on now. So let me just dive into it. There'll be a lot of repetition and a lot of like, okay, I know that, we said that, whatever, but it's really just like putting it together in a structure. So what should we do? We've now learned all of these transition lessons. Now, what else can we do? We need to begin changing how we raise our children. Like, I think that's the most fundamentally important thing. Childhood, how we raise our children. They all need a good, maybe that's too much of a deterministic word. They all need a good, natural, experiential education to ensure a sustainable future. Teaching based on natural life's principles, learned from this philosophy and all of life's experiences around us. By doing this, we ensure our children create the future in which they deserve to live. Just by the way we raise our children, we can change our world or help save our world. For the already indoctrinated is the next person who's curious. I think of the curious adult thinker, beginner awakener, seeker of the truth, questioner, researcher, like where I was before I started writing this book. It's like, but what about this? And what about that? Then the seriously, as the third level, the serious or third possibility, the seriously committed change seeker and future guides, teachers, and leaders. Now, these are really critically important people. You decide to become a beyond the age of ignorance course taker with your total commitment to being open-minded and change your way of life. Your journey is the relearning, the reprogramming of your life by living by the truth, becoming more aware in the moment, then consciously rethinking and re-experiencing and re-feeling and sensing and emotionally adapting and reconnecting, reprogramming your self-talk, because that's so important. That paradigm within your head is the one that needs to change. Your subconscious and your unconscious mind is all like speaking or behaving within this paradigm. By changing that, you change your behavior and you change the world around you. You begin listening in to your inner voices, listening into your intuition, becoming aware of your REM sleep, your rapid eye movement sleep, where you dream. You become aware of your lucid dreaming and then remembering your dreams and learning how to bring them out of the dream state into this world and writing them down, and then writing down all of the insights, that those aha moments that come into you. You'll begin reading and researching and thinking from different perspectives, awakening to the truth, raising your awareness and consciousness by reconnecting to everything. I think consciousness is that. You'll practice your breathing, being in the moment, and internally connecting to your inner body, like feeling down to the tip of your toe, and then to the itchiness on the back of your leg, on your calf muscle, or feeling the sensations of warmth on your skin of your hands. So you're internally connecting, and it's done beautifully through yoga, and then externally connecting to your world, focusing on the light and the warmth and the breeze on your skin, and totally learning how to tune in to what we would call the non-physical. Well, physical, first of all, to the physical world around you, and then to the non-physical, or what is called the metaphysical, and connecting and communicating with the trees and the water and the birds and the bees. It's like this raising of consciousness is really about your connectivity to everyone and everything and all around you. It's that awakening to who you are. You'll be doing all of this while searching for the underlying secrets and the natural wisdom of life, and eventually achieving a state of enlightenment. While you are living in your perceived moment, experiencing and being the change you wish to see in the world, all of which results in your transformation to becoming this oneness with the whole of Mother Nature and life. That is what makes you into a transitioner, a sower, a creator of a happy, healthy, and sustainable future utopia, Shangri-La, paradise, called Mother Earth. Okay, open to the floor.
Yes.
Yes.
Like those are steps, all right? So the stage is like we need to teach our children. For the already indoctrinated, it's like go on this journey. For the person who wants to become a change maker, step into it. You know, this is who you will become. Anyone want to comment?
No, we agree. No,
awesome.
carry on.
Other essential fields of continued study and research to expand your creative potential to become a creator of our new future. One of the most incredibly important things is Bill Mollison, and I can't think of his name, I'll go think of it just now, wrote the book Permaculture Design. And it really is taking from ancient indigenous cultures who had all of these different sustainable ways of living and taking the good lessons and putting them all together, and then taking scientific ideas and so on and piecing it all together to how can we improve upon this cultural way, and how can we become the Renaissance men or the and women or the positive creators of a better future. And it's in, like, I was just thinking of human manure. They create these dry toilets which don't waste water and have an air sucking out system, you know, so that you don't have odors in the house and so on. And basically turn your poop into a manure that is extremely valuable in the whole process of fertilizing the soil to grow more plants and to grow a better future. So fertilization and nutrients and minerals and all those things are critical to actually having a healthy garden. So instead of having our waste products just being thrown away or washed away into our river systems or wherever, and rather use that energy and that potential to expand our potential to grow a better future. So permaculture is that. It's that system that is about earth care, making sure that we improve the world and all of nature, improve topsoil, improve life and quality of life, and use energy efficiently. It's this incredible living, growing system of teaching people how to live a better life on this planet, and a sustainable and perma meaning permanent, and then culture meaning a way of life. So that is critically important. And then you can go down to the simplest of things like a pot planter and a gardener and a community garden grower, and then eco-village creator and dweller, and then go on to reclaiming deserts and semi-desert regions. There's like a multitude of different areas where you can expand your thought into. Anyone want to add any ideas to that? Okay, so then become a guide and a teacher or a leader and a creator of. Now, this is critically important. Our children's education system, we need to like get involved in the creation of the books that teach these teachings and the course content and so on. And then focus on trying to get our children out into the gardens, which you say is happening in America quite a bit, getting their hands in the soil, getting them into the creative arts, but with this cultural wisdom and natural wisdom as like the basis of it, as opposed to the destructive philosophies that we've had. We also need to create our movements, facilitation of getting back to the land. It's like, how do we create ways in which people can return to the land? And then we need to be creators of our institutionalized thoughts, behaviors, and so on by using books and videos and creating accessibility to this knowledge and wisdom. Now, within each one of these concepts, we need to create titles and headings and our symbols and patterns and behaviors and values and beliefs and code of conduct and languages and translations and songs and nursery rhymes and children's books and natural wisdom teachings. There's so much sort of at the end of this course where we have to sort of like become the creators of this future. It doesn't just happen because we've spoken about it and we've like, okay, we've done the course ourselves. It happens through becoming the creators of. Development of a worldwide culture of love and cooperation. That has to be like one of our fundamental principles. There must be only one war, and that's the war for our survival. We all fight together for our mother's life, all life, and Mother Earth. Longevity in our projects and teaching systems we put in place. Now, that's so important, is we can speak about this and it ends at the end of our meeting if nobody watches the videos. How do we ensure that this philosophy of love and compassion and consideration is perpetuated into the future? And that institutionalization is the fundamental principle that they use, where the parents teach the children, and then they go to a regular meeting and the discussions are had and they are introduced into the paradigm as religions do. But it has to have longevity. If it doesn't, not even etching it into stone is going to make sure it lasts. Then the principle is, remember, destroying is quick and easy. It's so easy to break something. Sowing and growing takes creative thought, designing, effort, time, energy, and commitment. So let's create a paradigm, way of life, and future that lasts. Okay, open to the floor. Hello, Lorna.
Hi, everybody. What is the newcomer? I was just getting in to say welcome to the new person that is coming to the group.
Yeah, she, I don't know, quite often people are like, yes, I'll do it. But then all of a sudden they get to that moment when they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be on video and they're going to be recording me. And it's like, no, and they run. So I don't know what the reason is, but she sounded very interesting or interested. So anyone else want to comment on that? That we have to become the creators of our new future?
Yeah, actually, I would. And there were a couple of things you said along the lines of how do we keep it, the longevity of it, and, something about written in stone. And immediately the 10 Commandments coming on the tablets popped into my mind, as it, even with that, certainly the longevity of the concept has been around. The longevity of people putting those concepts into practice is debatable. And I think even if we look at what happened with the Crusades and trying to instill the longevity of Christianity throughout whatever areas they were in, was just one more example of trying to keep that immortality and that longevity at the sake of giving up everything that you hold dear. So I think this, I don't know if it's a cycle, but these kind of waves and iterations of how something lasts and something doesn't often take it through a lot of iterations in and of itself. So I would say the best thing is, we just get to have these conversations with ourselves and with others that are willing to listen as often and as deeply as we can when the opportunity arises, and continue to look to spread the word. I can't help but make the analogy to evangelism, but in many ways that's what we're talking about, right? It's evangelism of sustainability, and a world that worked on its own without us having to manipulate the resources for our personal benefit at the sake of everything else. So I don't have a complete answer. Obviously, e-marketing and internet marketing and the ability to get your message across the world instantaneously is one way to do it. And then there are lots of other factions that are doing the same thing with their own message that may be antithetical to what we're looking to do. So we just continue to speak our truth along these lines. And when we can take on a technique that doesn't force us to give up our values and our ethics, then we get to use it. And if it does, each little sellout that we do just allows the path to take a different direction. And that aspect of integrity, of commitment, is something, and specifically to a cause or way of life, is specifically what's the root of a lot of the things that we talk about that are negative. The pyramid schemes, et cetera. It's like they want to continue their way of life at the sake of everything else. And so just continue to think inclusion and connection and commitment, and keep your vision in front of you whenever you make a choice.
Those are all critically important, amazing ideas. It's like, as I go on, we'll look at different structures and different focuses and different things. So yeah, I love that. I love that, all that stuff. Okay, then I've got a section called Your Transition is to go through the process of mastering your own life's journey. And really, I mean, and it's through being, like you just said, you know, it's through being that best version of yourself, the living the process and so on, that not only do you change who you become and you become a master of your life, but then it empowers you to become a guide and a teacher to others so that they can master their lives and so on. And eventually we all end up on a planet of very wise, very empathetic, and a world of humanity, you know, like really having empathy and love and consideration for everyone and everything. So it's like in this process of mastering your life. So go on your personal quest for the truth, your personal growth and development. Change yourself, and the world around you is what will happen through this journey. Become a wise guide and teacher of the future, guiding others, creating future generations of thinkers, changers, and creators. Create an awakening, aware, conscious, and enlightened age of love, balance, and harmony, and natural wisdom. Create and grow an age of reason beyond this age of ignorance. Change and grow a natural age of truth, wisdom, kindness, love, and natural health and cleanliness by living in love, balance, and harmony with the flow. Live as one with the creative flow of Mother Nature and all life. Do what's best for you and nature. No pollution, non-violence, no wars, no negativity, no plunder, no destruction. Create an age of love, caring, sharing, oneness, balance, and movement in harmony with others, and the natural flow of the Venergy, the vibrations, energy of life, where we are constantly, positively, and with determination creating and moving forward towards a world where we all live together and manifest a healthy, happy, natural environment where all life thrives. Adopt an environmentally friendly, I can do it, I can fix it, I can create it, positive approach to all of life's changes. Always remember that every problem has a solution, and the bigger the problem, the greater the solutions. Anyone?
No, I do. Yes, it's very encouraging, and I put a big smile on my face, you know, to listen to what you just said. And I'm very happy to report that at least here in my community, even it's a seniors community, that I have been seeing and hearing how even the older people are starting to have comments like, this is a good thing what's going on right now. And, after a year, right? Before I said this is horrible, they were, very negative, negative, negative. But I have to say, things are shifting, at least my surroundings here. And people are starting to look and talk about it. We are fortunate that we are living this era, that's how I feel. And it's very uplifting, very uplifting. So
that's awesome.
That's a new thing, that I've noticed. And of course, the young people, you just turn on YouTube, and you see the shift there too of the young people. I see a lot of a shift. Just the way they eat now, like so many vegans, vegetarians, and what comes with it, right? Because it's not just the food, even though the I don't know how you say bovine, the industry with the cows. What's the name of that for that industry?
Bovine, yeah.
They have suffered the consequences of a lot of people being vegan. That's something that I was not really paying attention. That industry is have suffered, economically speaking, because a lot of people have become vegans and vegetarians. And I just think back, when they started doing yoga because it was cool. It was cool and let's just do it. But I think it started back then, who knows, maybe before, and then into this wave of eating better. So when they say, kids are crazy and they just don't respect, distance and so forth, I also have been more benevolent, if that's the word, benevolent, that, if I would be a teenager or a young adult in these days, I would be in the prime, of want to do things, explore and just become adult. And who knows, probably I would have reacted that way because I was maybe thinking I was missing something, waiting for those years to be more free, right? So I just lower my, not criticism, but the way I was thinking about them by not contributing in a good way to the safetyness of where we are living now. But as I just try to put myself now in their shoes and just look at the good, look at the good side.
Anyone else? That's awesome stuff, Lorna. There are a lot of youngsters who are saying, oh my gosh, it's our future and we need to do something or we're in trouble. Whatever our parents do, that's their issue. But we really need to step up now and do what we've got to do to create a better world. So yeah, I love that. Not saying that every child does, and not saying that every kid is has awoken, but it's a very real movement, like a groundswell underneath this whole society of really the accessibility of information has sped up the rate at which people think and are able to make decisions and find information. And so we're living in an accelerated conscious world at the moment. Not necessarily saying all of the information is good information, but for the discerning mind, it's an incredible time. I mean, I don't have to go and get books from the library to find something out. I click on a button and bam, I do like a whole lot of searches of different things. And I'm like, okay, now that rings true to me. So I'll take that. And that's nonsense. So I'll ignore that. So the rate of expansion of growth and knowledge and ideas is just off the charts. Anything, Kurt? Anything, Alex?
Nope, I agree with you.
Good stuff.
It's almost all accessible.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. It's an exciting time, I think. So now the next thing I do is I just go through a recap. Oh, no, can't do it. We're 5 past. We're 5 past already. Oh, my gosh. And we basically started at 5 past, so we hit the hour.
How long is your recap, Dennis?
It's about a page and a half.
So
if you
a couple of minutes?
Yeah, a couple of minutes shouldn't take long at all. I can go quite
Anybody
fast.
opposed to Dennis completing the recap?
Not at all.
Excellent. Good. Thank you so much. So throughout this thought journey, through this book, chapters from infrared to red to orange, blue, green, indigo, and violet, we have learned there's something wrong with our world. Our lives and our world are in trouble. We firstly began by pointing fingers at others, and it's like their fault. No, then we suddenly realized that we were part of the problem. So we decided to heal ourselves first. Then we decided to share everything we had learned to help and inform and empower others to change and heal themselves. So together we can create a movement to bring about fundamental change in our world. We then discovered that our way of life is unnatural, disharmonious, and destructive, and thus unsustainable. Our ethics, our moral code, values and beliefs, and paradigm was the problem. Our civilization's design and fundamental purpose was really messed up and bad and wrong, and we could not or cannot continue to live by that code. So we have to change it. Then we discovered that if we continue as we are, we and all life on planet Earth face extinction because of our unnatural way of life. So we realized that to a large extent, we create our own surroundings and realities. So we are creators of who we are and the world we create around us. That's incredibly powerful. Everything we feel, think, say, and do matters. When we harm our planet and all of nature, we hurt ourselves. It's like a greater body that we're harming. We have the power to change ourselves and to change our world. It's an incredible realization. Then we realize that institutionalized thought and behavior are based upon and driven by egocentric, monopolistic, fear and hate-based pyramid schemes with a specific paradigm. These pyramid schemes paradigms influence the way we think and live in our world. Yes, we learned that coincidence. Now, this is like the sun shines and warms our skin. That's like coincidence. We might be inside the house and it doesn't happen. We learned that coincidence is a factor in creating our reality. And nature and life are also significant factors in creating our reality and sustaining it. But human negative conditions, thoughts, and behaviors are the worst and most devastating factors when we are conditioned into this age of ignorance, because it makes the way we behave and it therefore harms our world. But a positive, love-based, nurturing, creative, life-based paradigm is the most powerful positive force for change if we choose it and become it. Then we realize that because we transitioners took the time to think and question, and we uncovered and discovered and revealed the positive, creative, love-based, natural, secret truths of natural wisdom about ourselves, nature, and life, and the universe. We are now able to make a difference. So we also discovered why our world, our way of life, and our societies are the way they are, how it happened, when it happened, and what we can do instead. Having answered many of life's eternal questions and the essential questions we need to answer, and found many answers, we have also developed the skills, expanded our knowledge, and we uncovered the secret wisdom of nature and the universe. We now know the truth, are knowledgeable, aware, much more conscious and enlightened. We can now see the big picture, the whole, and our place within it. Thus, we are now empowered. We have come up with alternative solutions to our world's problems. Now we know what to do to turn it all around and how to create a happy, healthy, and sustainable future where we all deserve to live. Most importantly, we realize that we have changed and even transformed our lives because of having traveled through this thought journey. So we are well on our way to transitioning ourselves, our children's lives, and our world, and manifesting a better future. However, the most significant steps are still ahead of us, and that's designing, creating, applying, and living what we've learned. Living your best life is achieved by living it. Living is in the doing and the being the best version of yourself. Living is in us creating a happy, healthy, and sustainable future world on Mother Earth. That's it.
That's a good it.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to say anything, any last comments, go ahead. So on the recording side, bye everyone. Thanks very much for attending. Bye, Brendan. Bye, Lorna. And we can all stay and talk.
See you guys.
All right. Talk to you soon.
No, I got to go. My son is waiting for a call, but pleasure to be with you guys again today.
All right. Go well, Kurt. Thanks for attending. I appreciate you. Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you, guys.
Bye.